But she's missed. She missed a couple of shots down the stretch. And then she tried to take a charge from Alyssa Thomas, and
the moment didn't feel like a missed call. Felt like something far more corrosive. A breakdown not just in officiating, but in trust. Late in the game, with the tension already thick and every possession carrying weight, Paige Bueckers stepped into position and did exactly what basketball teaches you to do. She squared her body, established legal guarding position, braced for contact, and absorbed the collision head-on. And when Alyssa Thomas plowed straight through her, the whistle never came. That silence was deafening. What followed wasn't just frustration. It was disbelief. Because this wasn't borderline. It wasn't bang-bang. It wasn't one of those plays where slow motion makes things look worse than reality. This was a textbook offensive foul. The kind that gets called at every level of basketball. The kind you show on film to teach defenders how to sacrifice their body. The kind the rulebook exists for. And yet, nothing. That single no-call didn't exist in isolation. It came after a sequence that already had alarms ringing. Just possessions earlier, Paige Bueckers had been hit in the face. Not grazed. Not incidental contact on a shot follow-through. A clear blow that snapped her head back. Again, no whistle. Moments later, another elbow. Again, silent.
I mean this when I say this, like, how it isn't a charge is beyond me.
By the time the charge was ignored, it wasn't shocking anymore. It was confirmation. What made this moment explode wasn't just what happened to Paige. It was what it represented. Alyssa Thomas was allowed to play by a different set of rules. Run straight lines without consequence. Lower the shoulder. Deliver contact that would put any other player on the bench with foul trouble. The referees didn't just miss a call. They endorsed a style of play that bordered on reckless, and in doing so, they sent a dangerous message to everyone on the floor. Paige Bueckers wasn't gambling. She wasn't late. She wasn't sliding under at the last second. She was set, balanced, and legal. The tired argument about feet being set doesn't even apply. That isn't the rule. The rule is legal guarding position, and Paige had it. Alyssa Thomas never altered her path. She ran directly through her. That is an offensive foul by definition. When it isn't called, the game changes. And it changed immediately. After that collision, Paige stopped stepping in. Not because she couldn't. Not because she didn't want to compete. But because it became clear that doing the right thing defensively came with all the risk and none of the protection.
It's beyond me. Like, I'm going to be calling a,
Fans call it a business decision, but that phrase only exists because the officiating has failed. When players know they will not be protected by the whistle, self-preservation replaces discipline. That is not basketball. That is survival. This wasn't about Paige having a bad night. She missed shots late, yes. She wasn't perfect down the stretch. But focusing on that misses the point entirely. When a player is repeatedly hit, elbowed, and run over with no response from officials, it affects everything. Rhythm disappears. Confidence erodes. Aggression becomes hesitation. And that is exactly what unfolded. Alyssa Thomas scored. Back-to-back buckets. Momentum swung. Not because of superior execution, but because the defensive rules stopped applying. That is the most dangerous form of imbalance in sports. Not talent disparity. Not scheme. But selective enforcement. This pattern is not new. It is impossible to watch Alyssa Thomas over time and pretend this is a one-off. Her physicality has always pushed the edge. The difference now is that the edge has disappeared entirely. When elbows to the head go uncalled. When collisions that resemble rugby scrums are treated as normal basketball plays. When defenders are punished for standing their ground while offensive players are rewarded for recklessness, the sport itself is compromised. This isn't about intent. Saying a player is reckless is not the same as accusing them of being dirty. Reckless means the outcome doesn't matter as long as the objective is achieved. And when that recklessness is consistently tolerated, it becomes incentivized. Why slow down if you won't be penalized? Why adjust if the whistle is silent? The responsibility shifts from the player to the officials, and that is where the system is breaking.
Make an entire video on Alyssa Thomas. Like, The refs need to stop Alyssa Thomas.
Paige Bueckers absorbed all of this and still performed. She finished with 22 points. She shot efficiently. She hit shots from deep. She remained aggressive offensively even after being punished defensively. That resilience should be celebrated. But it should not distract from the larger failure. A league cannot rely on its stars to endure abuse and call that toughness. Toughness is competing within the rules. What Paige endured went beyond that. The officiating didn't just endanger her. It altered the entire flow of the game. When players know one opponent can play through bodies with impunity, spacing changes. Help defense hesitates. Rotations soften. That ripple effect advantages one style of play and suffocates another. It rewards force over skill. And that is not accidental. It is the natural consequence of inconsistent enforcement. The comparison to rugby didn't come out of nowhere. When a player can lower the shoulder, initiate contact, and finish through bodies without repercussion, the sport shifts. Basketball becomes something else entirely. That might benefit one or two players in the short term, but it damages the product in the long run. Fans aren't tuning in to watch stars avoid contact out of fear. They want to see competition, not calculated evasion. There is also a dangerous double standard forming. Certain players are allowed to be hyperphysical while others are officiated tightly. That perception, whether intentional or not, breeds resentment. It creates confusion. It undermines confidence in the fairness of the competition. Once that trust erodes, it is incredibly difficult to restore. This extends beyond a single game. It speaks to a systemic issue the league can no longer ignore. Player safety is not optional. It is foundational. Allowing repeated head contact, unchecked collisions, and reckless drives puts careers at risk. Paige Bueckers is not just a player. She is one of the league's most valuable assets. So are others who have been on the receiving end of similar treatment. When stars are left unprotected, the message is clear. The league will sacrifice individuals to maintain a certain brand of physicality. That is not sustainable. Layered on top of this on-court chaos are whispers of off-court controversies beginning to circulate. Rumors involving prominent names like Aliyah Boston and Brittney Griner are beginning to surface, though unconfirmed. Even the presence of such rumors underscores the broader instability. When officiating, discipline, and transparency all feel shaky at the same time, the league appears reactive instead of authoritative. None of this diminishes the talent on the floor. The WNBA is overflowing with skill, intelligence, and competitiveness. That is exactly why the moments matter so much. The league is at a point where visibility is growing, scrutiny is intensifying, and tolerance for inconsistency is shrinking. Every missed call now carries weight far beyond the scoreboard. What happened with Paige Bueckers and Alyssa Thomas was a line-crossing moment. Not because of one collision, but because of what that collision represented. A refusal to enforce boundaries. A willingness to let reckless play define outcomes. A silence that spoke louder than any whistle ever could. If the league wants to protect its future, it has to act. Officials must be held accountable. Rules must be enforced consistently. Player safety must be treated as non-negotiable. Because ignoring these moments does not make them disappear. It allows them to grow. The game is too good. The players are too talented. And the stakes are too high to keep pretending this is just part of basketball. The line has been crossed. The only question left is whether the league is willing to draw it back.